Graeme Souness was with us yesterday. It made us think about a variety of things, especially when we're on the topic of Manchester United and talk of a dressing room split, a dressing room rift. Simon, when you were at Palace, was there ever any murmurings of, there's a rift in the dressing room, some players aren't happy about X, Y or Z, there's a bit of a split going on?
Yes and no. I tended to detach myself as far away from the players as possible. I didn't want to hear their views. I saw their performances on Saturday, and that was all I was interested in. And the moment that became a problem, then I would intercede if the manager was clearly losing his way. But I'm not interested in the complaints of players that are either, not getting what they want, or in a clique that isn't being rewarded the way they think they should be. Yeah,
but when it gets into the media, and you see a story about dressing room split at Palace, you'd be all over it, wouldn't you? You'd get involved.
I would, to a point. I mean, years ago, one of the players, Michael Hughes, did a story, I think, before the playoff final, and I was outraged by it. Absolutely outraged.
What did he say?
He talked about the players being detached from the club and bonuses not being paid, which wasn't true. And they did it, and they decided to drop it on the day of the playoff final, which I thought was despicable, the newspaper. Another John Cross little epistle there. Because it was designed to disrupt and create problems. Darren Lewis and John Cross, that was. Which they got. No, I didn't forget, because they got the newspaper sued. I thought it was a despicable action that was ill-founded.
So you took it all the way?
Oh, you're damn right I did. On the eve of the playoff final, the biggest game in my tenure, a dysfunctional, disillusioned player decides to drop his little two-penneth into the public domain.
Did he know when it would go into the newspaper?
Yeah, of course he did. And it got everybody consequence. But yes, and certain players got served up as a result of it afterwards.
Really?
They did, yeah.
You don't cross Simon Jordan, do you?
No, not when it's not right.
No.
If I'm wrong on something, I'm just as able to be corrected as anyone else. But not when you're backing everybody and supporting everybody, and just because certain people aren't getting precisely what they want, they decide to do what they want. That's not how it works.
The reason I ask you that is that Manchester United never out the news at any time of the day or night. Erik Ten Hag has reportedly lost the support of half of the Manchester United dressing room due to his management style. It's claimed that some of the players are unhappy with the style of play. You'll love this. They feel that they're training too hard and that they're running too much in training, with some senior players not sure what they're running for. Ten Hag, meantime, saying, it's all right in this place.
Today we have to say the credits to Newcastle. After a start where we could have scored with Garnacho, they were better than us. They were more proactive, and we had to go behind, to go back. We had to defend. We did that, but we allowed them one goal, and then in the end we fought back. We had two good opportunities, but I will talk with my team about the reasons, but we have to do better, and as I said, I'm sure they will pick this up. I'm sure they are resilient. They have the character to do this.
So he's saying, no, they'll show that they're resilient, that they've got the character, we'll weather this, we'll get through it. So it doesn't sound to me as if there's a manager there who's in any way uptight about a reported split.
Well, he's probably not going to show that to the media, is he? I mean, I genuinely think that Man United get far too much attention now for what they actually do. They don't merit it. They're trading the legacy of a football club. Those that went before, like the Steve Bruces and even the Paul Inces and the Roy Keane, must look at this generation of footballers and think to themselves they're a joke, because their performances are not meriting the amount of attention they get. Man United is a huge football club, and these players that seem to be unable to understand the responsibilities of playing for the football club, or constantly at odds with the manager that's trying to enforce a new set of disciplines, aren't worthy of the attention they get in the media. It's only because of the legacy of the past. This group of Man United players aren't worthy of a fraction of the attention that they get. And it is only because there's a fascination amongst us all with the once great Manchester United.
Yeah.
That's it.
Eyebrows are raised at the likes of Anthony Martial. Right, number one, why is he not performing better? Number two, why is he still there in the first place? Souness touched on that yesterday, Simon. He says Martial epitomises the decline in decision-making at Manchester United.
You look no further than Martial for what that club is all about. I wrote in the Sunday Times, this has to be Martial's last chance saloon moment. They've given him another contract and he didn't deserve one. By mentioning his name, what I mean is they have, for a decade, made consistently poor decisions in the footballing matters. The most important thing you have to get right at a football club is your recruitment, and then on top of that, who you think we can afford to sell. Who's no longer a Man United player? Who's not fit or good enough to be a Man United player? Who doesn't show the right attitude? These are things. You're playing for Man United. You're playing for that shirt. You're playing for a club that, stands for all the good things about football in their past. And you've got players who are going through the motions now. Yeah. Now that comes back to the manager. Martial represents, for me, a decade of poor football decisions. In fact, he's still at the club.
So Souness didn't hang about with his comments there. I just think, are we not seeing a touch of deja vu here, Simon? When there's talk of a dressing room split. Now, obviously, you're right. Ten Hag's not going to come out and say, yes, I'm afraid there is one. But then we know what happens. We can predict the narrative here. That further down the line, dressing room split, some of the players not happy, manager goes.
Hey, well, hasn't he brought in enough of his own players to have produced a consensus that would be able to diminish the so-called voices that are using the media to advance their particular claims or their dissatisfaction? I mean, you are at a stage now where the fella's had 3 transfer windows. I would imagine he's brought in best part of 10 players. So we should have a quorum amongst the playing squad of players that want to play for him or have a respect for his decision-making process. The guys that don't, the guys that think that, I mean, I don't really care what happens with Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho has created his own challenges. Jadon Sancho isn't somebody that's ultimately been singled out by one set of behaviours. Jadon Sancho's behaviour has replicated itself through his career, even on international duty. So why people would be aligning themselves with Jadon Sancho, because whatever you haven't got, of course, is the reasons why you're unsuccessful. Jadon Sancho has stunk the place out since he come from Man United. So why anyone would be missing Jadon Sancho in the team is beyond me. Why anyone would be able to question the authority of a manager that's decided someone has stepped over the line. This age of evolution, this is not an evolution that's good for the game. People say, oh, you're a dinosaur, you live in the past, the world has changed. Well, there still has to be an authority. There still has to be a governance. It isn't management by democracy. The manager is autocratic. Yes, he can have a style where he brings people into the conversation, he's inclusive in his mentality, and he wants to have players happy and content. But the players themselves have got to realise that they are a cog in the wheel. The manager is the wheel. Yeah. And the players themselves can be moved along, moved out of the way if they're not performing properly. I mean, I listen to all this background noise. I don't, if it's meddlesome media, then it's meddlesome media being fueled by people that have an agenda. And, if the media are making this up, just plucking it out of the air and making it up, then it's silly and it's nonsense.
Well, they wouldn't, would they? It would be irresponsible.
But that's my point. Well,
I mean, ESPN have reported that Ten Hag's now reportedly battling to keep key players on side.
Well, they can't be key players in.
Ahead of the few crucial weeks that lie ahead.
But if they're key players, he would have them on side. So they can't be key players, can they? Who are the key players? Rashford? I mean, give me a break. Fernandes? Come on. Who are we talking about key players? I mean, if you look at that, again, I make the point, and it must be quite dispiriting for fans of lots of other football clubs that Man United get as much airtime as they do, because they don't deserve it.
Fernandes is a key player.
In respect to being
in respect to being Rashford, no doubt, is a key player.
If he's having to keep his captain on side, then he's doomed, isn't he? On side what? Give them what? And if we follow this narrative, if we were to believe it, give them what they want. What is it they want? To do precisely as they want, when they want, how they want. They don't have a clue the gravity of playing for Man United. The Keanes, as I said earlier on, the Keanes, the Bruces, the Instons of the world would look at this lot and have an absolute disdain for them, because they don't merit. They aren't Manchester United players of time gone past. This is not a Manchester United side that you can admire, or a group of players that you can aspire to be like. This is a group of players that are very, very, very fortunate to be playing for this unique football club, and very fortunate to be amongst the highest earners in the game, and very fortunate to be walking around getting attention the way they do, as if it's the impending doom. Souness made a point yesterday about Marcus Rashford and the best years of his life, yet he walks around like impending doom. They don't know they're born.
Well, we're going to know an awful lot more about where Manchester United actually are in the space of the next few days, because tomorrow night, Chelsea at home, and then Saturday, Bournemouth at home. We'll know a lot more then.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.